Raising my daughter Lisa alone has been the hardest yet most rewarding challenge of my life. When Amanda left us, Lisa was just 2 weeks old, and I was only 21. A terrified kid suddenly responsible for a tiny human. Somehow we made it through. We built a beautiful life together, just the two of us. Then last Sunday, a knock at the door threatened to unravel everything we had created. Before I continue this story that changed my life forever, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Take a second to hit like and subscribe as I share how I faced the woman who abandoned my daughter and made an unexpected demand that left me speechless. I met Amanda during my sophomore year of college. I was 19, studying engineering and working part-time at the campus coffee shop. She would come in every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon, order the same thing, a caramel macchiato, with an extra shot, and sketch in her notebook for hours. I noticed her immediately. She had this wild red hair that seemed to catch fire in the sunlight and bright green eyes that lit up whenever she smiled. It took me 3 weeks to work up the courage to talk to her beyond taking her order. When I finally did, we ended up chatting until closing time. Amanda was an art major, with dreams of becoming an illustrator for children's books. She was passionate, creative, and had this infectious laugh that made everyone around her smile. We started dating almost immediately. It was one of those whirlwind romances you see in movies but never expect to experience yourself. Within a month, we were inseparable. I would study while she sketched, sometimes staying up all night just talking about our dreams. I wanted to design bridges. She wanted to bring stories to life through her art. Our backgrounds were pretty different. I came from a solid middle-class family. My dad worked as a high school teacher, my mom as a nurse. We never had much extra, but we always had enough. Amanda, though, came from serious money. Her father owned a chain of luxury hotels, and her mother came from old money. They lived in a mansion in the wealthiest part of town, while I shared an apartment with 2 roommates. None of that seemed to matter when we were together. We were young, and in love, convinced we could overcome any obstacle. I still remember the night Amanda told me she loved me for the first time. We were at the lake, laying on the hood of my beat-up Honda, watching shooting stars. I thought I had never been happier than in that moment. I had no idea how much my life was about to change. 6 months into our relationship, Amanda missed her period. We had been careful, at least we thought we had, but one missed pill was all it took. I will never forget the look on her face when she showed me the positive pregnancy test. She was terrified, and honestly, so was I. We were only 20 years old, still in college, barely able to take care of ourselves. That night, we stayed up talking about our options. Despite our fear, we both felt a connection to this unexpected life we had created. After hours of conversation, tears, and uncertainty, we decided to keep the baby. I promised Amanda we would figure it out together. I would work more hours, maybe take a semester off if needed. We were young, but we loved each other. That seemed like enough at the time. When Amanda told her parents things got complicated, they were furious. Her father called me every name in the book, accused me of ruining their daughter's life and future. They wanted Amanda to get an abortion, or at minimum put the baby up for adoption. They made it clear that if she kept this baby with me, she would be cut off financially and emotionally. I still remember the tension in that massive dining room, as her father pounded his fist on the table, the crystal glasses shaking with each impact. Her mother sat silently, occasionally dabbing at non-existent tears with a monogrammed handkerchief. Amanda squeezed my hand under the table so hard I thought my fingers might break. Despite her parents' opposition, Amanda initially stood firm in our decision. She moved into my tiny apartment, and we started preparing for the baby. I picked up a second job working nights at a warehouse, coming home just in time to see Amanda before she left for her morning classes. We were exhausted but hopeful. As her pregnancy progressed, though, I noticed changes in Amanda. She became quieter, more withdrawn. She would stare at her growing belly with an expression I could not read. When I would talk about the future, about our baby, she would simply nod and change the subject. I convinced myself it was just hormones and stress about her parents. I was wrong. Lisa was born on a rainy Tuesday morning in April. 7 pounds 6 ounces of perfection, with a tuft of red hair just like her mother. The moment I held her, my entire world shifted on its axis. Nothing had ever felt so right, so important. I was a father. This tiny human depended on me, and I swore in that hospital room that I would never let her down. Amanda, though, seemed detached. The nurses called it baby blues. She would hold Lisa when prompted, but showed none of the instant connection I had felt. She barely spoke during our short hospital stay and cried frequently. I told myself it would pass, that once we got home and settled, she would fall in love with our daughter the way I had. 3 weeks after Lisa was born, I came home from my warehouse job at 7 in the morning, exhausted but excited to see my girls. The apartment was unusually quiet. Lisa was asleep in her bassinet, but Amanda was nowhere to be found. On the kitchen counter was a note written in her familiar looping handwriting. Art, I cannot do this. I am not meant to be a mother. I need to find myself again. Please, do not try to find me. I am sorry, Amanda. Just like that, she was gone. She had taken only a small bag of clothes and her art supplies. She left behind all the baby items, her other possessions, and us. No explanation beyond those few cold sentences. No goodbye, no looking back. I stood in that kitchen for what felt like hours, reading and rereading those words, trying to make sense of them. How could she just leave? How could she abandon our daughter? What was I supposed to do now? When Lisa began to cry, reality crashed down around me. I was 21 years old, a college dropout with 2 jobs, and now a single father. I had no idea how to care for a baby on my own. I had no idea how I was going to survive this. The first few years were the hardest. I moved out of our apartment, which held too many painful memories, and into an even smaller studio across town. The rent was cheaper, which we desperately needed. I had to quit one of my jobs since finding overnight childcare was impossible, which meant money was always tight. My parents helped when they could, but they lived 3 states away and had their own financial struggles. They would visit every few months, bringing hand-me-down baby clothes, and giving me a brief respite from the constant responsibility. My mother taught me how to bathe Lisa properly, how to soothe her colic, how to recognize different types of cries. My father showed me how to budget on a shoestring, how to fix things around the apartment to save money, how to find joy in small moments with my daughter. Sleep became a distant memory. Lisa was colicky for the first 6 months, screaming for hours every night despite anything I tried. I would pace our tiny apartment bouncing her, gently singing every song I could remember, begging her and God to let us both rest. Then she would finally fall asleep on my chest, her tiny heart beating against mine, and none of the struggle seemed to matter. Diapers, formula, and baby clothes devoured my paycheck. I learned to stretch every dollar to breaking point. Generic everything. Thrift store clothes. Food banks when things got really tight. I sold my gaming system, my small collection of rare comics, anything that was not essential to our survival. Through it all, Lisa grew. Her first smile at 2 months made me cry from happiness. Her first laugh a month later became my new favorite sound in the world. She had my dark hair but Amanda green eyes, a constant reminder of what we had lost, but also of what I had been blessed with. By the time Lisa was 4, things had started to stabilize. I had worked my way up to assistant manager at the retail store where I had been working, which meant slightly better pay and consistent hours. We moved to a 1-bedroom apartment where Lisa could have the bedroom, and I took the pull-out couch in the living room. It was not much, but it was a step up. When Lisa started kindergarten, I enrolled in night classes at the local community college, determined to finish my degree, even if it took me years. I would put Lisa to bed, study until midnight, wake at 5 to get us both ready for our days, drop her at schoolwork all day, pick her up, make dinner, play with her, and start the cycle again. I was perpetually exhausted but driven by the need to provide her with a better life than the one we were living. The milestones came and went, each one bittersweet. Lisa's first day of school, where she bravely walked into her classroom, while other mothers huddled together exchanging phone numbers for playdates. Her first lost tooth, where I had to play both child excited about the tooth fairy and the tooth fairy herself. Her first bike ride, where I ran alongside her for hours until she found her balance. Every achievement was a reminder of what Amanda was missing, of how she had chosen to walk away from these precious moments. When Lisa was 8, she started asking more questions about her mother. Where was she? Why did she leave? Did she ever try to contact us? The hardest question came on a random Tuesday, as I was helping her with homework. Dad, did Mommy leave because of me? The question felt like a physical blow. I put down the pencil I had been holding and pulled Lisa onto my lap, even though she was getting too big for it. I looked into her eyes, so much like her mother, and tried to find the right words. Lisa, Your mom left because she was not ready to be a mom. It had nothing to do with you. You were perfect. You are perfect. Some people just are not meant to be parents, and she knew that about herself. She made a choice that she thought was best. But she left you too, Lisa pointed out with the unflinching logic of children. Yes, she did. And that was the hardest thing that ever happened to me. But it was also the best thing, because it meant I got to be your dad all by myself. And being your dad is the greatest thing I have ever done. It was not a perfect answer, but it was honest. I had decided early on that I would never lie to Lisa about Amanda, but I would also never let my own hurt color how Lisa saw her absent mother. That was a burden I would carry alone. As Lisa grew into her teens, the questions became more complex. She went through a phase of anger toward Amanda, followed by a period of idealization. I tried to be the steady constant in her life, the one person she could always count on while she processed these complicated emotions. We fought sometimes, as all parents and teenagers do, but our bond remained unshakable. Somehow, through all the challenges, Lisa flourished. She was smart, compassionate, and determined. She decided at 15 that she wanted to become a doctor, inspired by a pediatrician who had taken special care with her during a scary bout of pneumonia. She threw herself into her studies with a focus that both impressed and worried me. I made sure she still had time to just be a kid, to hang out with friends, to discover who she was beyond her academic achievements. By the time Lisa graduated high school as valedictorian, our lives had transformed. I had finally completed my engineering degree, taking 1 or 2 classes each semester for nearly a decade. I had worked my way up to a management position at a local engineering firm, and while we were not wealthy, we were comfortable. We had moved to a small house in a good school district. When Lisa was 12, our first real home with a yard and enough space for both of us. I still dated occasionally, but nothing ever stuck. Some women lost interest when they learned I was a single father. Others tried too hard with Lisa, attempting to force a bond that needed to develop naturally. A few were wonderful, but ultimately not right for other reasons. Lisa always came first, and I had made peace with the possibility that I might not find my person until she was grown. It was a trade-off I was willing to make. Lisa received a full scholarship to a prestigious university where she continued to excel. She called me every Sunday without fail, telling me about her classes, her friends, the research position she had landed with a renowned physician. I missed her terribly, but was so proud of the independent young woman she was becoming. When Lisa was accepted to medical school at 22, I thought my heart might burst with pride. She had worked so hard, overcome so much. At her white coat ceremony, as I watched her formally begin her journey to becoming a doctor, I thought about how far we had come from that terrified young father and tiny baby in a cramped studio apartment. We had made it. Against all odds, we had made it. Now, at 46, I run my own small but successful engineering consulting firm. Lisa is 25, has completed medical school, and recently gotten engaged to James, a kind and brilliant young man who treats her with the respect and adoration she deserves. My life is good. Not perfect, but good. I have long since stopped wondering about Amanda. Stopped being angry. Stopped wishing things had been different. This was the life we were meant to have. Or so I thought, until last Sunday morning when the doorbell rang. I opened the front door in my weekend attire of faded jeans and an old college t-shirt, coffee mug in hand, expecting perhaps a neighbor or a delivery I'd forgotten about. Instead, I found myself face to face with an elegantly dressed older woman I had never seen before. She had perfectly coiffed silver hair, expensive-looking jewelry, and the kind of posture that spoke of privilege and power. She assessed me and my modest home with a quick, dismissive glance that immediately put me on edge. "Can I help you?" I asked, fighting the strange sense of unease building in my chest. "Are you Arthur Wilson?" the woman asked, her voice cultured and cool. "I am," I confirmed. "And you are Catherine Taylor, Amanda Taylor, mother." The coffee mug nearly slipped from my suddenly numb fingers. Amanda Taylor. A name I had not heard spoken aloud in almost 25 years. A ghost from my past, now embodied in the form of this imperious woman standing on my front porch. For a moment I could not speak, could not think past the roaring in my ears. "I suppose you had better come in," I finally managed, stepping aside to let her enter. Catherine walked into my living room, like she was inspecting property. She might consider purchasing her critical gaze, taking in the comfortable but modest furnishings, the family photos covering the walls, the stack of engineering journals, on the coffee table. She declined my automatic offer of coffee or water and perched on the edge of my couch as if afraid to fully commit to sitting in my home. "What can I do for you, Mrs. Taylor?" I asked when the silence had stretched too long. 25 years is a long time to suddenly appear on someone's doorstep. "Amanda passed away 3 weeks ago," she said without preamble. "Breast cancer." It was quick at the end. The news hit me like a physical blow. Amanda dead. The vibrant, creative young woman I had once loved gone from this world. Though she had been absent from our lives for decades, knowing she was out there somewhere had been a constant. Now that constant had vanished. I felt an unexpected grief wash over me, not for the woman who had abandoned us, but for the girl I had once loved, for the mother. Lisa would never know. "I am sorry for your loss," I said quietly, and I meant it. Despite everything, I would never have wished her ill. Catherine nodded stiffly, accepting my condolence with the barest acknowledgement. She opened her designer handbag and removed a thick envelope. "Amanda left a substantial inheritance for Lisa," she said, placing the envelope on my coffee table. "However, there are certain conditions that must be met." "Conditions," I repeated, confusion giving way to wariness. "Yes." Catherine straightened, her expression hardening. "We need you to sign a statement acknowledging that you deliberately kept Lisa away from us all these years. That you prevented our attempts to contact her and be part of her life." I stared at her in disbelief, certain I had misheard. "What attempts? You never once tried to reach out to Lisa. Not a birthday card, not a Christmas gift, not a single phone call." "That is not true," Catherine countered smoothly. "We made numerous attempts to be part of her life, but you made it impossible. Amanda was devastated by your refusal to co-parent." The sheer audacity of her lie rendered me momentarily speechless. I stood up, needing to put distance between us before I said something I might regret. "Mrs. Taylor," I said when I could trust my voice again, "your daughter left a 3-week-old baby with a note saying not to find her. She never called, never visited, never sent a dime of child support. You and your husband made it abundantly clear that Lisa and I were not good enough for your family. And now you come into my home and accuse me of keeping Lisa from you." Catherine remained unmoved. "The inheritance is substantial, Arthur. Several $1,000,000. It would give Lisa a wonderful start to her life, allow her to pay off any medical school debt, buy a home with her fiancé." The mention of James told me they had indeed been keeping tabs on Lisa from afar, which only fueled my anger. They had been watching her achievements from a distance, perhaps even taking pride in them, while contributing nothing to the years of struggle and sacrifice that had made those achievements possible. And all this money comes with the condition that I lie, that I sign a paper falsely claiming I kept her from you. Why? So you can rewrite history. So Amanda can be the victim instead of the one who walked away. We merely want the record set straight," Catherine said, her voice taking on a harder edge. "Additionally, we would like Lisa to take the Taylor family name at least as a hyphenate to acknowledge her heritage." I nearly laughed at that. After 25 years of pretending Lisa did not exist, now they wanted her to carry their prestigious name. Now that she was successful, accomplished, a soon-to-be doctor, engaged to a promising young man from a good family, now she was worthy of being a Taylor. I was about to show Catherine the door when I heard the front door open. Lisa's voice called out, "Dad, you here? I brought those bagels you like." My heart sank. Lisa was not supposed to come by today. She had a rare weekend off and had planned to spend it with James. Now she was about to walk into this fraught situation, completely unprepared. Lisa appeared in the doorway, a paper bag in her hands, her smile fading as she took in the tense scene before her. She looked beautiful as always, her dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing simple jeans and a sweater. She looked from me to Catherine with growing confusion. "Dad, what is going on?" she asked. Before I could answer, Catherine had risen to her feet and was moving toward Lisa, arms outstretched as if to embrace her. "Lisa, darling, you look so much like your mother. I am your grandmother, Catherine." Lisa took an instinctive step back, looking to me, with wide, questioning eyes. I moved to her side, placing a protective hand on her shoulder. "Lisa, this is Catherine Taylor. Amanda mother," I explained quietly. "She came to tell us that Amanda passed away recently." Lisa's face registered shock, then a complex mix of emotions I could not fully decipher. She had long ago come to terms with her mother's absence, but I knew that somewhere deep inside a small part of her had always wondered if someday Amanda might reach out, might want to know the amazing young woman her daughter had become. "I am sorry," Lisa said finally, her innate compassion evident even in this bizarre situation. "I am sorry for your loss." Catherine dabbed at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief, though I noticed no actual tears. "Thank you, dear. It has been terribly difficult. Amanda spoke of you often, you know. She always regretted that your father kept you from us." Lisa's brow furrowed. "Excuse me," I felt a surge of protective anger. "Mrs. Taylor was just leaving," I said firmly. "She came to inform us about an inheritance Amanda left for you, but it comes with strings attached that I find unacceptable." "What strings?" Lisa asked, her sharp intelligence immediately focusing on the crux of the matter. Catherine smoothly interjected. "Nothing unreasonable, dear. Just an acknowledgement of the past. Your mother wanted very much to be part of your life, but certain obstacles prevented that. The inheritance is your birthright as a Taylor." I watched as understanding dawned on Lisa's face, followed by something I had rarely seen there, indignation. "Let me get this straight," Lisa said, her voice quiet but firm. "My mother abandoned me when I was 3 weeks old. Neither she nor any of you tried to contact me for 25 years. No birthday cards, no child support, nothing. And now she dead. You show up with money that apparently comes with the condition that we pretend my dad kept me from you." Catherine looked taken aback by Lisa's directness. "Your mother had her reasons," she began. "I am sure she did," Lisa cut in. "And I have spent years working through the impact of those reasons with the help of therapy. But I will not participate in rewriting history. My father is the reason I am who I am today. He worked multiple jobs, went to school at night, sacrificed everything to give me a good life. He never kept me from anyone. In fact, he always spoke of my mother with more grace than she deserved." I felt a swell of pride at my daughter's strength and clarity. Lisa had always been perceptive, had always seen through attempts to manipulate or deceive. She was handling this bizarre situation with more poise than I could have imagined. "The inheritance is quite substantial." Catherine tried again. "Several $1,000,000. Enough to pay off your medical school debt, buy a home." Lisa actually laughed at that. "I do not have medical school debt," she said. "My father made sure of that. He saved every extra penny for 20 years, so I could go to school without loans. And James and I are doing just fine on our own. We do not need or want money that comes with lies attached to it." Catherine's expression hardened. "This is your heritage, your birthright. You are a Taylor." "No," Lisa said firmly. "I am a Wilson. My father is a Wilson. I would not change that for all the money in the world." I saw Catherine flinch at the rejection, saw genuine emotion cross her face for the first time. Perhaps she had truly believed her narrative, had convinced herself over the years that I was the villain in their family story. Or perhaps she was simply unaccustomed to not getting her way, especially when wielding the considerable power of the Taylor fortune. "I think it is time for you to leave," I said quietly, but firmly. "If Lisa has a legitimate inheritance from Amanda, you can have your lawyer contact ours, without these manipulative conditions attached." Catherine gathered her purse and the envelope with a rigid dignity. "You are making a mistake," she said to Lisa. "That money could set you up for life." Lisa slipped her hand into mine, a gesture she had not made since she was a little girl. "We already have everything that matters," she said simply. After Catherine left, Lisa and I sat in silence for a long moment. The bagels lay forgotten on the coffee table. Finally, Lisa turned to me, tears in her eyes that she had not allowed Catherine to see. "Was that really my grandmother?" she asked, her voice small. I nodded. "That was the first time I have seen her since before you were born." "She seems awful," Lisa said with a watery laugh. "She and your grandfather were very wealthy, very status-conscious people," I explained. "They never approved of me. I was not from their social circle, did not have the right background or connections." "Do you think it true?" Lisa asked after another moment of silence. "That my mother wanted to know me but could not?" I considered the question carefully, wanting to be honest but not cruel. "I do not think so, honey. Amanda made her choice very clearly. But people sometimes rewrite the past to make it easier to live with. Catherine might genuinely believe that version of events now." Lisa nodded, processing this. Then she squared her shoulders in that determined way she had since childhood. Well, I am not signing anything, or changing my name. If there truly is an inheritance for me, fine, but not with false conditions attached. I agree, I said. We will talk to a lawyer this week and handle it properly. The next few days were a whirlwind of emotions and practicalities. We consulted with an attorney who confirmed that Lisa was indeed entitled to a portion of Amanda estate regardless of the conditions Catherine had tried to attach. The inheritance was substantial, though not quite the vast fortune Catherine had implied. Lisa decided she would accept the money, but would use a significant portion to establish a foundation supporting single parents, pursuing higher education. The rest would go into investments for her and James' future family. It was exactly the kind of thoughtful, generous decision I would expect from my daughter. Catherine eventually reached out again, this time through her attorney, with a more subdued approach. The false narrative about me keeping Lisa away was dropped, though she still expressed interest in developing a relationship with her only grandchild. Lisa agreed to meet with her on her own terms, after some time had passed. I supported her decision, knowing Lisa was strong enough to set and maintain appropriate boundaries. As for me, I found myself processing unexpected feelings about Amanda's death. Not grief exactly, but a kind of wistful sadness for what might have been for the family we never got to be. I had long ago forgiven Amanda, understanding that she had been young and overwhelmed, trapped between her parents' expectations and the reality of young parenthood. Forgiveness had been necessary for my own healing, not for hers. The week after Catherine's visit, I found myself looking through an old box of photos I had kept from those early years. There were a few of Amanda and me, young and in love, unaware of the challenges ahead. I showed them to Lisa, sharing stories of her mother's creativity and passion for art. For the first time, I felt I could speak about Amanda, without the weight of abandonment coloring every memory. It was a gift in its way, this final closing of a chapter. Last weekend was Lisa and James' wedding. It was everything she had dreamed of, simple but elegant, surrounded by friends who had become our family over the years. As I prepared to walk her down the aisle, she turned to me in her beautiful white dress, her eyes shining with tears and love. "Dad," she said, squeezing my hands, "thank you for being both parents to me. Thank you for never giving up, for showing me what real love and commitment look like. I would not change a thing about our life together." In that moment, all the years of struggle, sacrifice, and uncertainty were worth it. Every late night, every missed opportunity, every moment of doubt, all of it had led to this wonderful woman before me, ready to begin her own journey with the man she loved. Sometimes the most beautiful things grow from the hardest circumstances. Sometimes being left behind leads you exactly where you were meant to be. Have you ever had a moment when what seemed like your worst day turned out to be the beginning of your best life? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more about our journey together. And if you know someone who might need to hear this message of hope and perseverance, share this video with them. Thank you for being part of our story, and remember that family is not always about blood, but about who shows up every single day. I will see you in the next video.